his answer was simple: I am not available. But he did respond to what you've written, and I want to read what his statement is that you have also responded to. This is what he has said, not to us specifically, but his statement to Jane Mayer's book, The Dark Side. He said, quote, "The allegation that I provided assistance in the process of torture is completely false. I gave a 3-hour lecture sponsored by SEER, the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Escape branch of the American Armed Forces at the San Diego Naval Base in May 2002. My topic was how American troops and American personnel could use what is known about learned helplessness and related findings to resist torture and evade successful interrogation by their captors. I was told then that since I was and am a civilian with no security clearance, that they could not discuss American methods of interrogation with me. I have not had contact with SEER since that meeting. I have not worked under government contract or any other contract on any aspect of interrogation or any aspect of torture. Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Jessen were present in the audience of about 50 others at my speech, and that was, to the best of my knowledge, the sum total of my assisting them in the process. I have had no contact at all with the American Psychological Association about their relevant policies. Most importantly, I strongly disapprove of torture and have never and would never provide assistance in its process."
Well,
Your response,
Well,
Jamie.
I have to say first that it's not a contradiction of The Dark Side, because it's the allegation that he, quote unquote, assisted torture comes from a blogger who was reading my book. It's not actually what I say in the book. The book is, he confirms all of the facts in the book, which are very accurate. It describes the lecture he gave. It describes his relationship with the SEER program exactly as it was. And so I actually, the one thing I have to say is he's not and has not contradicted any of the facts in the book itself. He's reacting to accounts by bloggers there. I think he's just basically confirming it, reconfirming it. I have to say...
What did you learn from that response?
Well, I mean, what I learned is there are a lot of unanswered questions that I would really like to put to him, but when I did try to question him further, he said he had no further comment. He's obviously a very erudite and savvy man. What did he think he was doing when he went to talk to the CIA at their confab at the SEER school? How did he know Mitchell and Jessen were in the audience? Did he speak to them? Did he know what their role was in terms of interrogations? There are a lot of things that would be great to know. It's hard to tell because he keeps shutting down the conversation when it gets interesting.
Well, I wanted to go further with the American Psychological Association and a former president. Last year it was revealed former APA President Joseph Matarazzo is a partner in Mitchell and Jessen. And the New York Times reported the CIA interrogator of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Abu Zubaydah, Deuce Martinez, now works for Mitchell and Jessen's firm in Spokane, Washington. And
this one firm keeps cropping up again and again. Jessen and Mitchell, I guess, are not members of the APA, from what I understand. But the connections to the APA and this program keep popping up again and again. It's really interesting. It may say something about why the APA has been so reluctant to take a categorical stance, as psychiatrists have, saying there's no role for this profession in torture or in coercive interrogations. Let's put aside the word torture because it's a semantic game. But the medical profession takes an oath. The Hippocratic Oath is do no harm. And I think it's the role of medics, nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists who keep cropping up in reports that you get from detainees about they'll be in a moment of extremis and suddenly a doctor will appear and certify that it's okay to keep interrogating them. I think it's an area that is really ripe for investigation.
On Democracy Now!, we've been covering the issue of psychologists, examining the role of psychologists in developing the Bush administration's interrogation programs for the past 2 years. During a debate in 2006, the APA president, the then APA president, Gerald Kuchar, mentioned you by name, Jane Mayer. We talked to him on the telephone. This is what he had to say.
I wish I had the assurance that Jane Mayer and that Dr. Reisner apparently have, that there are APA members doing bad things at Guantanamo or elsewhere, because anytime I have asked these journalists or other people who are making these assertions for names so that APA could investigate its members who might be allegedly involved in them, no names have ever been forthcoming.
That was the former APA President, Gerald Kuchar. Your response, Jane Mayer?
Well, I mean, again, obviously, Martin Seligman was the president of the APA, and he had some role here in lecturing those psychologists who went on and designed this program for the CIA. So, I mean, there are all kinds of things that, if they wanted to be vigilant, they could look into at the APA. They seem to have a reluctance to dig beneath the surface.
Well, last year, Democracy Now! Went to the APA annual convention in San Francisco to cover the debate that they were having around the issue of passing moratorium on involvement in coercive interrogations. I wanted to play one of the statements. It was by Army Colonel Larry James. He was flown up from Guantanamo, the chief psychologist at Guantanamo and member of the APA governing body, to oppose the proposed moratorium on psychologists' involvement in coercive interrogations.
Thank God this is a democracy. I actually welcome and support all of the discussion and the debate. That's why I wear this uniform, because I'm very, very proud of this democracy. So I want to thank Dr. Altman and his colleagues for having the courage to speak out, although I may disagree with many of the things they say. God bless America. Number two, torture is wrong. How could anyone disagree with that? So under no conditions would myself or any of these psychologists you see here today in the uniforms that they wear representing our country would ever support anything that allows torture or inhumane treatment. Thirdly and lastly, if we remove psychologists from the front in any capacity whatsoever, innocent people are gonna die. Innocent people are gonna get hurt. Phil Zimbardo told us this was gonna happen 30 years ago. And so, in going back to the chronicles of histories, any detention facilities we've set up anywhere in the world, when you don't have psychologists involved in the policy decision makings, when you don't have psychologists involved in the day-to-day activities, bad things are going to happen. Innocent people are going to die.
Dr. James?
Sorry. Thank you, Madam President.
That was Colonel Larry James. He was head psychologist at Guantanamo, recently hired as dean at Wright State University in Ohio. Interestingly, right after that, another psychologist got up. Her name was Dr. Lori Wagner, a Dallas psychologist, and she shot back. If psychologists have to be there in order to keep detainees from being killed, then those conditions are so horrendous that the only moral and ethical thing to do is to protest by leaving.
Well, it's obviously there are a lot of psychologists who are very defensive about this role, and there's a reason why. Starting in the summer of 2002, there were psychologists from the SEER program going down to Guantanamo and supervising and advising on the interrogations there, which included the interrogation of Mohammed Khatani, the so-called 20th hijacker, who was put through the most unbelievable program of psychological abuse. I don't really know how anybody could defend it. Some of the transcripts have come out. He was subjected to 54 days of only 4 hours of sleep a night. He had bags of fluid put into his veins so that he had to urgently go to the bathroom. They wouldn't let him get up and go, so he had to urinate on himself. They put, the bra on his head. They made him do dog tricks.